Are you recording?
Yes.
Your father did the same thing to me. Okay, so buttermilk pie. Oven is set to 350. In my bowl here, I have a stick of butter. What are you doing?
Zoom in on the bowl.
Oh, jeez. Okay, I have melted a stick of butter in this bowl. This bowl I have actually had since college. So it was part of a pair, but one of them got broken. Anyway, but I still have this one. So, stick of butter. It's cooled down just a little bit. 1 1/4 cups of sugar. Start mixing that in. The reason I like to let the butter cool just a little bit and then add the sugar is because we're going to be adding eggs and we don't want to even slightly partially cook the eggs. I'm going to add the eggs one at a time and stir well after each addition. And to me, doesn't matter if they're cold or room temperature for this particular recipe. So, you might be able to see, Benjamin, some of this. Those are all eggshells. The reason I have all those eggshells, we go through a lot of eggs in this house. I mean, a whole lot of eggs. Just trying to cook breakfast for the entire family when we're all together is at least a dozen eggs, if not more. So what I do is I save my eggshells and then I bake them on 325 for about 10 minutes and then I crush them up really small and I put them around my plants, my vegetables in my garden, my flowers, and it does a couple of things. It puts calcium in the soil, which some of the plants really need, and it's also a great insecticide. Animals don't like it, bugs don't like it because it cuts their legs up and that's painful, and so they tend to not get very far on the plant when you put it around the base of your plant. So that was the second egg, and here is egg number 3. Three eggs just helps make this so rich. When I get this all mixed up, I'll be pouring it into my 2 refrigerated, actually these were frozen and then I refrigerated them last night, pie crust, because I hate to make pie crust. I absolutely 100% thoroughly hate to make pie crust. When I was younger, my parents had apple trees in their yard. And they weren't the kind of apple trees that you would just go pick an apple and eat off of. They were quite tart. And my daddy loved fried apple pie. And so I would make him fried apple pie. And I hated to make pie crust then, and I hate to make pie crust now. I would get those apples, I would dry them out, I would lay them on my tanning sheet. Y'all remember those like aluminum foil looking tanning sheets? You lay it out, put your baby oil on, get your boom box. I would lay the apples out on that after I cut them up, dry them out, and then make fried apple pies. Anyway, half a teaspoon of salt. Salt brings out the flavor of everything. No, don't worry about it. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Get the good stuff, y'all. Get vanilla extract. Don't buy imitation vanilla. It's just not the same. Mixing that in. Then I'm gonna do 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And the reason my flour is in these little containers is my daughter got completely tired of all of my little bags because I use different flour for different things. I use bread flour, I use cake flour, I use self-rising flour.
So she put them all together?
No, she didn't put them all together, weirdo. She put them all in their own little individual containers and labeled the lids so that it's all nice and neat and not so jumbled up in my bread cabinet, my flour cabinet. Yes, I have a flour cabinet. So, Benjamin, real quick, hand me the phone while I record myself mixing in the buttermilk, and you go get those 2 pies out of the fridge, the one that's been cut and the one that hasn't.
There's only one slice of the cut one.
I know there's only one slice of the cut one because you boys came home and found out there was pie.
I haven't eaten any of it.
You haven't eaten any?
No, I've been eating ice cream.
Okay. So your brothers came home and found out there was pie. This is 1 cup of buttermilk.
This one has a bit of sugar on top.
Yeah, set it down. Keep recording me while I stir this. So 1 cup of buttermilk. I want to get every little drop of buttermilk out of this. Back to my store-bought pie crust. You can do this one of 2 ways. You can do it with a deep dish crust and it'll make a nice little deep dish pie. I prefer to do it thinner because this is really pretty rich. It doesn't sound like it would be rich. I mean, we're talking buttermilk, y'all.
And she's adding chocolate chips too.
I'll get there in a minute. Thank you, Mr. Jump Ahead.
For the first time.
For the first time. You just don't remember.
You've never made it with chocolate chips before.
Well, maybe I won't make it with chocolate chips now if you don't put it right in your mouth.
Okay.
Anyway, buttermilk makes it really, really rich. My grandfather, I never understood why he drank buttermilk or ate buttermilk and cornbread. We would eat sweet milk and cornbread, but not buttermilk and cornbread. Anyway, I'm going to pour half in one, half in the other. Like I said, I prefer the thinner version because it's a little rich. The flour just adds a little bit of binding to make it thicken up a little bit better, just like when you add it to sauces and things like that. I'm eyeballing half and half here. You could measure it if you really want to be precise, but no. And I have heard of people adding things like lemon juice, some freshly grated nutmeg. I'm a purist. I tend to prefer my buttermilk pie to be only buttermilk pie. Every once in a blue moon, I have added
Only buttermilk pie.
pecans, and this time I'm adding, for the first time in quite a while, some chocolate chips to one of these. About a half a cup because, and I'm doing mini chocolate chips. Looks like I might have just about a half a cup in there. The thing you have to remember when you're adding something like chocolate chips to a recipe like this, actually I think I'm only going to add maybe a quarter of a cup, is it will take it just a little bit longer to bake, and a lot of the chocolate chips will settle to the bottom. Yeah, a quarter cup of mini chocolate chips is plenty. There's a few left to go on some of Abby's pancakes. Maybe I should make my pancake recipe, y'all. It's pretty famous around here from the kids' birthday parties. So, when the pies are about halfway through, I like to open up the oven about 25 minutes in and sprinkle the tops with sugar. You can see a little sugar on top of here. I've sprinkled a little too much in that area, but it becomes, stop that. It becomes like a brulee. It gets really crispy and crunchy on the top. And then here you can see, my husband and I each had a small piece of this pie last night. Nathan and Matt came home and they definitely had more than a small piece because that's all that's left of this one pie. But this is what it looks like. It's kind of like a custard. But it's so good, it's so yummy. And the best way to eat that, in order to cut through all of that richness, is to add some whipped cream. It doesn't matter if it's the kind out of a can, out of a tub, or if you make it homemade, whipped cream always makes it better. So, let me know if you make your own and how it turns out for you.